Ukraine claims to have downed several missiles in Russia's largest airstrike on Kyiv since the start of the war.
Opinion divided in Turkey about the outcome of Sunday's highly contested election, as citizens wait anxiously for the runoff vote in 2 weeks' time.
883. That's the number of people Amnesty International says were executed in 20 countries last year, the highest figure since 2017.
Cannes braces itself for stars, fans and protesters as the annual film festival gets underway in the southern French city this evening.
Ukraine says it has repelled the largest Russian missile attack on Kyiv since the start of the war. The armed forces of Ukraine report the downing of 6 supersonic missiles, 9 cruise missiles and numerous drones. Several people were injured after debris fell on the city, including the zoo. Russian authorities have stated that it is impossible to shoot down supersonic missiles and called earlier reports of such a missile being intercepted fake. Washington noted that they could confirm the success of Ukrainian air defense. Kyiv was the target of massive shelling after the Ukrainian armed forces announced the first successful counterattack in Bakhmut. The Ukrainian authorities stressed the attack was not the start of the highly anticipated counteroffensive, which has been talked about now for several months.
Russia launched an exceptionally intense air attack on Kyiv in the early hours of Tuesday, which was described as the maximum number of attack missiles in the shortest period of time. Ukraine's commander-in-chief Valery Zaluzhny said Kyiv's defenders shot down 18 out of 18 Russian missiles and drones, including 6 Kinzhal ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, which are the most potent long-range weapon in the Kremlin's arsenal, 9 caliber cruise missiles and 3 land-based ballistic missiles. Now, Russia's defense ministry said it has destroyed a US-built Patriot surface-to-air missile defense system overnight with the hypersonic Kinzhal missile attack on Ukraine. On Monday, the Institute for the Study of War said increasingly regular series of missile and drone strikes are likely a part of a new Russian air campaign in Ukraine aimed at degrading Ukrainian abilities to conduct counteroffensive operations in the near term. Ukrainian officials acknowledged limited Ukrainian battlefield successes during recent localized counterattacks in and around Bakhmut. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar stated on the 15th of May that the Ukrainian forces made unspecified advances in and around Bakhmut in the past several days. Maliar added that Russian forces are deploying airborne forces to defend Bakhmut's flanks, presumably from other areas of the front, as they continue to launch ground assaults in and around Bakhmut. Ukrainian intelligence reported that approximately 152,000 Russian troops in southern Ukraine continue defensive efforts ahead of a possible Ukrainian counteroffensive. Ukrainian main military intelligence directorate representatives stated that Russian forces are not withdrawing from Zaporizhia and Kherson regions.
Across Turkey, citizens are divided about the outcome of the country's highly contested first round of elections on Sunday. Neither incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan nor his rival Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu won the vote outright. They now have to wait another 2 weeks to find out who will lead the country for the next 5 years.
Bu beklenilen bir şey oldu. Bunun beklenilen bir şey olduğunu düşünüyorum. Çünkü gerçekten bu millet ne istediğini bilen bir millet ve iki ayrı fikri olan bir millet. Demokratik bir ülkedeyiz. Dolayısıyla herkes kendi düşüncesini özgürce ifade ettiği bu seçimlerde bu beklenilen bir şeydi.
Adayı yanlış çıkardığımız için bizim için bir kazanım gibi görünüyor ama aslında bu kadar olumsuzluğa rağmen bence bir hezimet gibi oldu. Yani çok farklı bir şekilde kazanmamız gerekiyordu. Ama bu seçimi benim gözüme kaybettik.
Ben şahsen aslında istemiyordum ikinci tura kalmasını. Niye? 50+1 olsun, bizim olsun. 14 gün boyunca daha bu stresi çekmeye gerek yok diye düşünüyordum. İkinci tura kal zaten Allah izin verirse Erdoğan zaten bir farklı kazanacak diye düşünüyorum. Büyük bir farklı kazanacak diye düşünüyorum.
The outcome of the first round was widely seen as a verdict on Erdogan's 20-year rule and increasingly authoritarian path. The second round of voting will take place on the 28th of May.
Parliamentary elections will be held in Greece on Sunday at a time when high food prices and the cost of living are at the top of the minds of Greek voters, according to recent polls. For Brussels, the economic situation seems a far cry from the dark days of bailout programs and painful austerity measures. Now the country's economy is among the fastest growing in the Eurozone. But whoever wins the elections, fiscal discipline will remain a key element.
Essentially, Greece has weathered these last two extraordinary crises, COVID and energy, pretty well, maybe better than the European average. And the government has succeeded in keeping fiscal policy under control. And it is now reaping the benefits of that discipline.
While Greece has regained the EU's confidence in terms of the economy, this is not the case with the quality of the rule of law. The government's image was tarnished abroad by the so-called Greek Watergate, in which politicians, journalists and businessmen were monitored by Greek intelligence services. The government denies having used the spy software.
The political authorities have been essentially obstructing the activity of the independent agency that is supposed to do the checks on who is on the surveillance list, for example. And it takes several years before people are informed after the monitoring is done. So this creates really an alarming situation, because the opposition and the journalists are the ones that are targeted, and essentially it gravely affects the quality of democracy in the country as well as the quality of the rule of law.
However, according to polls, the scandal is unlikely to have a major impact on the parliamentary elections. According to Tsereteli, this is a symptom of critical voices being suppressed by the media, and great vigilance is needed at the EU level before the situation comes to an irreversible head. For the second year in a row, Greece ranks as the worst EU country in terms of media freedom, according to Reporters Without Borders.
Executions across the globe have skyrocketed to their highest figure in 5 years. According to Amnesty International and the organisation's World Death Penalty report, 883 people are known to have been executed across 20 countries last year, marking a rise of 53% since 2021. In the league table of executioners, the top 5 are the USA with 18, Egypt with 24, Saudi Arabia with 196, Iran with over 576, and China, which has allegedly executed prisoners in their thousands. However, Beijing has shrouded its death penalty figures in secrecy. Amnesty also noted some countries who were not observing the death penalty have resumed the practice. Afghanistan, Kuwait, Myanmar, the Palestinian territories and Singapore. Close to 40% of all known executions were for drug-related offences. On the positive side, some countries have now abolished capital punishment, including Kazakhstan and Sierra Leone. Amnesty says 125 UN member states, more than ever before, are calling for a moratorium on executions. There is a glimmer of hope that the extreme punishment will be eventually regulated to the annals of history. It's bad news for employees of British telecommunications giant Vodafone after the group announced plans to slash 11,000 jobs over the next 3 years. In a bid to boost its competitiveness, the new CEO, Margherita Della Valle, wants to reduce its workforce by just over 10%, the biggest cut the company has faced in its history. While Vodafone reported stagnant revenues of €45.7 billion for the year to March and poor results in its main market, Europe, it experienced strong sales in Africa. The announcement comes amid the cost of living crisis and soaring inflation of 10% in the UK, the highest within the group of 7 nations. In recent months, major US technology giants have also eliminated thousands of jobs. Despite the job cuts and restructuring plan, analysts say tangible results will be necessary to satisfy the markets.
Rolling out the red carpet ahead of the 76th edition of the Cannes Film Festival. On Tuesday evening, stars from across the world will be making their way up these stairs as the prestigious event gets underway in the southern French city, amid concerns of possible protests over President Emmanuel Macron's pension reforms. This year will see the return of controversial US actor Johnny Depp, who stars as King Louis XV in the film Jeanne du Barry. 21 films are competing for the top prize this year, including a record 7 women directors. Some 35,000 people are expected in Cannes for the festival, which runs until the 27th of May.
All eyes will be on the San Siro tonight in Milan as the city's two footballing giants battle it out in the Champions League semi-final. After a 2-0 victory in the first leg, Inter face AC Milan, who will have to do without Ismael Benacer. Inter were the last Italian team to lift the trophy over a decade ago.
Domani sappiamo che è una partita, una delle più importanti nella storia ultracentenaria dell'Inter, quindi sappiamo l'importanza della partita, quello che riveste per noi stessi, per la nostra società, per i nostri tifosi, quindi la dovremmo interpretare nel migliore dei modi. Sappiamo che abbiamo un vantaggio, un meritato vantaggio.
Tomorrow, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City will host Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid after a 1-1 draw in the Bernabeu. After a knee injury scare, tests confirmed this morning that Eduardo Camavinga will be available for Madrid.